have that to access later. If for some reason you're having trouble with WebEx, I am putting a participant guide for WebEx in the chat as well that you can check out. And I noticed someone mentioned that you need access to the slide deck, so I apologize. We will fix that now. And we will get this. Oh, captions are not working today. Okay.
What was the thing that they couldn't have access to?
The slide deck. I fixed it though.
It's completely open to everybody, so it should be available. Just making sure we did the right one. Yep, should be available. Please let me know if it's not, and we'll see what we can do about that. Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay, well, we will get started. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to this Spring District Arts Education Leadership Meeting. We are so excited to have you here with us today, and we are thankful that you are taking your time to be with us this morning. That slide actually says 10 to noon, and we are actually going to 12:30, so I apologize for that. But we are super excited, and we're going to start today with a little attendance sheet. So if you can make sure that you fill out your attendance so that we know who has received this information and who is representing your district, that is fabulous. And I'll take just a moment to introduce ourselves to you before we get started with our welcoming activity. So again, if you do not know who we are, I am Sayward Grindley. I am your dance and visual arts consultant for DPI. And Brandon Rader is your music and theater arts consultant for DPI. Together, we are your arts education team, along with our fabulous section chief for social studies and arts education, Dr. Lori Major Carlin. And you'll hear from Brandon in just a second, but I'll let Lori say hi if she'd like to say hi.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you are well on this beautiful breezy day. We have lots and lots to cover, so I apologize if we are going just flying through lots of information, but we wanted to make the very best use of your time, and so please forgive us for that. We do have better stagecraft manners than that, but we want to make sure you get all of this information in one fell swoop. So hang on for the ride.
All right, thanks, Lori. So another quick thing that we have for you to follow along with today are these participant notes, and we hope that this will be a helpful way for you to come back and see all of the links, all of the information there for you to access in one place. So you'll find those in the link that Brandon just shared in the chat. So between the slide deck and participant notes, you should have everything you need to come back to. All right, we're going to pass things over today to our fabulous partner at the North Carolina Museum of Art, Jill Taylor, to do our welcoming activity.
Thanks, Sayward. So good morning, everyone. I don't know if you're like me, some of you might be early risers. I actually did rise early today, but then getting into the office and getting WebEx to actually load was like, wow. So we want to take a minute to just like, so you have a work of art to take a moment to look at on the screen. And then we're going to do a quick 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 activity. So just first, take some time to look at the work of art. And then Brandon, if you can go ahead to the next slide, you can just jot down or think through in your head 5 things you can see. And I'm going to ask you to share, but you're not going to have to share like all 5 things and all 4 things. So but I'll let you go through the whole list and then we'll share quickly. So 5 things you can see. 4 things you could touch, 3 things you might hear, 2 things you might smell, and 1 thing you might taste. So just give you a little time to do that. Oops. Okay, so some of you may still be thinking through, but we'll go ahead because I know we do have a busy agenda today. You can just drop something that you listed that you could see. You don't have to do your whole list. I think it'd just be nice to see a few examples. And Leanne has got hers in there. Thanks, Leanne. The camper, the pool floaty, children, canoe. Oh yeah, canoe. Laundry. Great. Now, what about things you could touch? Let's see, you could touch tree, clothes, frisbee. There's some things you might hear if you were in this scene. Ooh, of the spray, yeah. The bugs and the birds, crickets. Fantastic. What are things you might smell? That's that bug spray. Smoke. Great. And something you might taste. Bug spray grin. Yeah. Chips. Marshmallows. Yeah. Some of those yum, some of those not so much. Great. Well, thank you everybody for just taking a moment to like check in with our senses and look at a work of art. And every time I do this, people help me see things that I haven't seen before too. So great. Thank you so much. And I think you'll hear from me later on. So I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Brandon and say word.
All right, thank you so much, Jill. That was fabulous. So today, throughout our agenda, you'll see it more specifically in the participant notes, the breakdown of each speaker and that timeline. But we will go over all of our NCDPI announcements, including CAE data gathering. You will hear from all of your North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources organizations and their updates. You will have an instructional leadership session on building a positive arts education teacher environment. And you'll hear from the field in all of our Arts Education Leadership Coalition groups and professional teacher organizations. And you'll end with some closure and CEU credit information. We will actually not be doing a networking session at the end unless you just want to stay and hang out and chat with us. So we are going until 12:30. But of course, we will stay and hang out and talk if anyone wants to until 1. But if not, you are totally free to go at that time. All right. And we will move forward to these North Carolina Teacher Leadership Specialist Standards. These are the ones that we are covering today. So be sure to check those out along with our administrator guides that are super helpful for you and your principals as well. And I'm going to now pass things over to Lori for our NCDPI announcements.
Sure. So I'm going to be very brief with this little bit that I have to update you on. You are all going to be hearing a lot more about the comprehensive arts education piece that we've been talking about for years and years and years. In honor of Christy Lynch Ebert, we have to mention that three-legged stool. We know that our work with arts integration, arts exposure, and arts education is really making an impact for North Carolina students, and the report will actually be due to the JLOC team. That was redundant, to JLOC in December. So you're going to hear a little bit about a survey and some additional information as we move forward through this year to help us ensure that we are meeting the tenets of the Comprehensive Arts Education Task Force. So just look forward to more information on that. So what do we do to support the comprehensive arts education mandates? And DPI is intricately involved with lots of state agencies. Of course, DPI stands for Department of Public Instruction, and there are lots of divisions within the agency. Our division specifically has had a name change within the last year. We are now the Division of Academic Standards, and our primary purpose is to oversee the review, revision, and support for implementation of state content standards in North Carolina. Specifically, Brandon and Sayward and I are the only members within the social studies and arts education section. And even though they have their specified areas of that they cover, we all work together, and especially Brandon and Sayward work together on most projects, and they collaborate with other areas within DPI to ensure that they're meeting the needs of the field in the best way possible. So although we aren't decision makers, we are the liaison between what's happening in the General Assembly and at the state level and you. So we're here to support you, to serve you in the best ways we can. And we do this proactively by collaborating with district arts education leaders from every LEA, working with organizations from the State Department of Natural and Cultural Resources like the Arts Council, the museum, the symphony, facilitating communication with professional arts educator organizations like NCMEA and the Arts Ed Leadership Coalition, or ALEC, and by being a direct link to the over 7,000 arts teachers across the state. So please know that we are the most accessible team at DPI, I think. We're only an email away, and we try to respond within 24 hours. So the news about this standard course of study, you can find, we had to move everything off of our Google sites. If you're as old as I am, you remember the wiki sites and became the Google sites, and now they're all housed on DPI. So you can find the standard course of study here for all 4 arts areas. We are considered a core area of study, so please keep that in mind when having important conversations with leaders in your districts. And then exciting news, dun, dun, dun. I'm waiting for the slide to change. We will be looking at standards revision in the next year. So we do not have board permission to actually start revising the standards. But as I found through social studies, there is a whole lot of work that needs to be done before we begin that process. So this year, we will probably be starting the research portion, just reaching out to the field and asking about things that are working for you, asking about things you'd like to see, and then also looking at other state and national standards as well. So the very, very early stages, this year, science and healthy schools are revising their standards, and we are not going to be stepping on anybody's toes. And I, quite frankly, am not that anxious to begin a revision admission process again after social studies. But I know that it's necessary, especially in the arts. I think that the arts are a lot like computer science, that things change very quickly for technology and, you know, just different art forms. You want to make sure that we're capturing things. So it is beyond time for us to revise these standards. So we'll take baby steps into that process this year. So we hope that you are as excited about that as Brandon and Sayward are, and I'm trying to be. And that's it for me for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lori. So we now interrupt your programming to bring you a little commercial update from a few of our state partners. So we'd like to hand it over now to Nate with Arts North Carolina.
Hey everyone, I'm Nate McGackey. Yes, my name is spelled correctly on the slide. It is just, but if Brett Favre can get away with it, so can I. I am the Executive Director of Arts North Carolina, which is your arts advocacy and arts education advocacy organization in the state of North Carolina. I don't want to take up too much time, but I want to make sure that you are all aware of some great opportunities coming up this month and in June. We are having, we typically do our annual Arts Day conference as a one-day conference and one-day visiting with legislators. Because of the scheduling, we're changing that up a little bit. So the online conference is coming up in less than 2 weeks on May 23rd and 24th. We have a scholarship program where it is where we have full scholarships available to anyone who claims to be a teacher, an educator, a student, or a independent artist. So incredibly easy for all of you and all of your teachers in your districts to access that conference 100% for free. And CEU credits are available. I was playing with it earlier today. It actually, you know, like asks you if you want credit, and you just click yes, and it makes this beautiful little form that prints off. And so it's really easy to document those sessions that you saw and to print out those CEU credits. So please promote that to your folks in your district. And then in person, and actually physically in person in Raleigh, on June 7th, we are holding an event that is also going to be absolutely free. To meet with legislators and to have some great performances in a tent out on Halifax Mall right outside the General Assembly. But we've got county captains and lots of resources to help folks come out. So if you can make it to Raleigh on June 7th, please, by all means, do so and encourage your folks to do so as well. I know that probably a lot of schools will be in session, so that might be difficult. But please sign up as an advocate, because a lot of those advocacy meetings are happening online. Talked a little bit about this in the last meeting we had. artsednc.org has launched. That is now the online home for the arts education leadership folks. So please make sure that you are that you're checking out that, because it's got a ton of resources for arts education advocacy, as well as the Arts Education Data Project, and lots of other exciting things, including some resources for ESSER funding. Your friends at AELC created an expense guide of all those usable expenses that you can use for ESSER. We had Andy at our Arts NC office kind of do that graphically, so it looks really professional. You can show that to your folks in your own district. So please make sure you check that out. Also, exciting announcement, and you can find this at artsednc.org, kind of a step-by-step how-to guide for how to get your local school boards to pass an arts education or arts R education resolution. Very simple resolution, just kind of commits the district to making arts education a priority, and say you want to grow and advance it. 10 LEAs have passed that in North Carolina, representing over one out of every 4 public school students in the state of North Carolina. So that is huge. We have more coverage in the state of North Carolina than any other state in the country. So we're really excited about that. And lastly, I encourage all of you to check out the Arts NC email list. I try not to send more than once a week. It's for all your advocacy, arts ed, and nonprofit arts updates. And so we make it really easy to read, so you can skim through and see if there's anything there for you. I ask you all to please do that. I'm sure these slides are going to be made available. All those blue underlines are hyperlinks that'll take you right to where you need to be. So thank you all so very much for all of the amazing and incredible work you do. And I'll hand it back over. Thank you, Saber.
All right, thank you so much, Nate. Yes, all of these links are in your participant notes and in the slide deck, so you can come back and easily access them. And we're not going to put all of those in the chat and just fill up your chat, because we want you to be able to really pay attention and know that you'll be able to come back to those at any time. So we're going to move now and hand it over to the North Carolina Theater Conference with Angie. Is Angie here? Don't know that I see her. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, well, if she is not here yet, we'll just share for her that for over 50 years, North Carolina Theater Conference has worked to strengthen North Carolina's vibrant theater industry and engage tomorrow's artists, audiences, and advocates. And she has several upcoming dates that she wanted you all to be aware of. The High School Play Festival, October 28th and 29th, and November 4th and 5th. And there are 7 sites across the state. North Carolina Theater Conference College Day, November 19th at Greensboro College. And this is a fabulous opportunity to really have students explore colleges and get seen by college programs. And the Middle School Play Festival, March of 2023. So those are some fantastic things they have coming up, and we hope that you will share them and check them out. And we will move forward now. And of course, if Angie joins us later and you have any questions, you can always put those in the chat. We'll make sure she gets those. So now we will hand things back over to Brandon to talk about graduation requirements and data dashboards.
All right, thank you so much. So Grad 004 was updated to include the new information about the arts education graduation requirement. This is going into effect this fall for any incoming 6th graders. And so please visit the memo, which is underneath this link here here, I will actually put that into the chat. Oops. You can visit the memo for more information, or there was an entire town hall that we did on YouTube, and you are welcome to watch those on later, and those links are available both in the slide deck and in the participant notes. So in order to track students' completion of the new graduation requirement, we have to emphasize the importance of correctly coding courses. All of the arts education courses that teach the standard course of study begin with a 5 and should be used. Any sort of PE course or miscellaneous 9 course should not be used, right? They will not be counted towards the graduation requirement. And then additionally, any sort of locally developed course that doesn't teach the actual standard course of study in its entirety should swap over and use the new 5-7 course code, and those will also not count towards the graduation requirement. If you have more questions about that, do definitely take a look at the SIS resources, which come from the Student Information Systems team here at DPI. They're the ones that deal with Power School directly. Or you can visit the Arts Ed course manual, which gives a lot more background on that. In addition to the graduation requirement, course codes matter for a number of other reasons, and I wanted to bring that to your attention today because I went back and forth a lot this past winter with schools who reached out to me and said, hey, on our school report card, it doesn't say we have dance, and we do have dance. And so I pulled down all of the course codes that are taught at that school, and I said, well, according to what you've put into the computer, the data that we have access to, you don't have dance. Or the opposite. I said, they reached out and said, hey, we don't have theater. And I said, well, actually, you have 3 or 4 kids enrolled in theater classes according to your course codes. So do make sure that those course codes are being used with fidelity in your district. And then also we have the Arts Education Data Project, which is a national reporting system that goes down to the classroom level from the state level of what sort of arts courses are enrolled and available in every single public school unit. So I'd like to invite Andrew Kraft, who is the District Arts Education Leader from Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, to share a little bit about how he has used the information in the Arts Ed Data Project um, in, uh, effectively within his community. So take it away, Andrew.
Thanks, Brandon. Can you hear me okay?
I can. You're a little quiet.
Okay, well, I'll try to speak a little bit louder. Yeah, absolutely. I was so excited when I finally discovered this when you introduced it to me. Yeah, like you said, you can start with just the state information of what districts offer what the arts enrollment trends are for the state. But most everybody wants to dig into into the data for their district. You can get everything from enrollment trends over time to district comparisons. You know, I was messing with district comparisons earlier, seeing, you know, why does this high school have 44% of their students enrolled in the arts, but this one only has 20% enrolled with their students in the arts? And a lot of interesting info. How I've been using it is the enrollment information. I think it's gotten me a lot of a positive feedback from other administrators, because I can tell them, well, you know, in secondary, for instance, our visual arts enrollment is up, but it's mostly taking place in middle schools, and our performing arts enrollment is trending downward and has been, because Brandon and I were talking about this. It wasn't just COVID where we've seen a dip in performing arts. It's actually been, at least over the past 5 years, theater arts, significant number of students not taking beginning theater arts in high school. And so now what that's driven me to do is we're doing a lot of surveying of students, why they're signing up for what they're signing up for, because if there's anything on the district level we can address, maybe any inequities or something along those lines, something that's systematic, you know, we'll address it. But it's just given us a direction to go versus, oh, it looks like our numbers are down or up. I mean, we can see definitively that the numbers are trending down. You can even dig into specific schools and see how the trajectory is going with visual arts and performing arts, how many students are enrolled in band in 9th grade versus 10th grade. It's just so much great information. I do think it's important that if you are a arts coordinator of any kind, that you have that information about your district ready to kind of spit out at anybody that asks you, and so that way you can talk about the trends within your district. So that's how I've been using it. It's just a fantastic resource, and I have it bookmarked, and I'm usually on it every day. So thank you, Brandon. Yeah, that's how we're using it here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And then I will extend that and say that my work with Andrew really prompted this new data dashboard. So CEDARS is the Common Education Data Analysis and Reporting System that North Carolina uses. CEDARS is much more friendly to say. And all of your data people in your district have access to this dashboard. Additionally, anyone who requests and is granted permission should also have access to this. So every district arts education leader is welcome to talk to their district level data person and get an account into this data system, because we now have a dashboard that covers course enrollment for arts education. And so this data pulls down enrollment filtered by school and by sub-discipline. So looking at instrumental music, broken out by band and orchestra, and general music, vocal music, and then reported by total enrollment. And then you can also break it down and look at male and female numbers. Does that reflect your student population in each of the 4 arts areas? Looking at race and ethnicity, does that reflect your student population in your arts education courses? I'm looking at any sort of special populations, so looking at those with IEPs or disabilities, our multilingual learners, our economically disadvantaged students, are they being included into the arts education courses? Or is there some sort of breakdown between, or in veins of communication or accessibility or with price or content, of ability to access instruments. All of that should be reflected in the data, and you should be able to bring that data then to anybody in your district in order to address any of the specific needs that you feel is reflected. Additionally, you can go back historically, I believe, all the way to the 1950s. There will be some breakdown as our course codes have changed the further back you go, but I would say that for at least the last 10 years, our course codes have been pretty stable here in arts education. So you should have a pretty good idea what your enrollment looks like across the last 10 years. So we've given you quite a bit, and we'd love to hear in the chat what you are excited about or what your next steps would be in regards to the graduation requirement, course codes, and or the new Arts Education Cedars dashboard. Go ahead and place it in the chat. Awesome, yeah. Taking a look and just making sure that course codes are correct is an important step for sure. Yeah, take a look at Cedars. Awesome. Wonderful. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and start the information from, oh, how do I do this? I'm so sorry. I think I have
Okay,
to
well, I'll
connect my
introduce while you're figuring it out. It's good. Okay, so we heard from Jill earlier, but we are going to actually watch a recording. But she is here to answer any questions in the chat. But here is her quick update on North Carolina Museum of Art and all of the fabulous things they are doing with their education programs. So again, she is here in person in the chat, but we will watch a recording right now. All of her slides are in the slide deck as well.
I'm Jill Taylor, Manager of School and Teacher Programs at the North Carolina Museum of Art, and we're excited to share updates about our programs with you today. I'll first talk a little bit about some educator programs and then close out with some student program information. I did want to say we're wrapping up the school year. We have our online course, Art in SEL, which will wrap up on May 24th, and then our last Teacher Tuesday, which is an opportunity for educators to see our special exhibitions for free, and that's May 24th. Our big thing that we have coming up is the reinstallation of the People's Collection. So at the end of May, our West building is going to close, and the art will be moving around to all different new places. This, something that hasn't happened in about 12 years since we opened that new building. And so when you come again in October 2022, things will look different and exciting. And one thing we've been working on is really figuring out how to make this reinstallation relevant to teachers and students in North Carolina. So we are offering a 2-day Summer Institute for teachers this summer, July 26th and 27th, around the idea of how can art help us build and sustain community through conversation. And we've identified 3 concepts that are particularly relevant to the reinstallation, but also across the curriculum. And those are identity, place, and power. And so a lot of this will focus on how to have conversations around those concepts using works of art. And then a sneak peek into our programming for next year. So October 4th will be the return of the Educator Expo, and that'll be teachers will be able to see the reinstallation before any other group of the public. And on this, we'll launch this officially maybe in a month or so, but you can see we will have online programs and in-person programs. So there should be something for everybody. And we're using a choice board format for teachers to see what we have and to see that we're kind of programming around these concepts. For students, we are continuing to offer virtual field trips, and we've brought on our on-site field trips as well. And then our big initiatives for students is NCMA Explore. It's going to launch next month in June, and it's an immersive game-based virtual gallery for students aged 8 to 12, and is really built around 6th grade social studies standards. So there'll be content drops every few months, and it'll start with ancient Peru, and students will use, there'll be works of art in our collection that we will use and place in their original context, and students will really get a sense of ancient civilizations and how people lived, and how art was a part of that. So we're excited to share that with you next month. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Jill, for sharing. And is Melissa Poppy here? Did she make it in yet?
I don't think that she did.
Okay.
Uh-oh, I'm having issues again.
Would we like to hold off on her slide until she is able to get here?
I believe that sounds great.
Okay. All right. So
Go ahead and come back.
we will come back to NCAEA. And we'll move forward now to comprehensive arts education. So we'll kind of go through a little bit of this CAE guide and what we have in there for you. So it's going to be presented in 4 sections. What is comprehensive arts education? And then the breakdown of arts education, arts integration, and arts exposure. And of course, resources for all of those things. So you'll have a table of contents. You'll go through again that definition and explanation of comprehensive arts education and organizations that support comprehensive arts education. So we have those all linked, and you can go to their specific resources, which are abundant. When you come down to arts education, you see the vision of arts education from the state, the standard course of study policy, and your arts education standards. We also look at and talk about preparing students for success in the 21st century and how that happens in arts education. We also discuss connections to the national core arts standards, and so you see directly how there's a link to those national standards. We include your course manual that we've talked about as well, your information for district arts education leaders, that's you, and how you can get more involved in resources specifically for you. And then, of course, your administrator guides as well. We also have information on the arts education graduation requirement, and we will have more coming about the arts education graduation endorsement. We have our webinars from our PD series on meeting the needs of all learners. So while most of those were geared towards you as district arts leaders, they are open to all of your teachers and administrators as well, and wonderful things for you to share. We have your NCDPI Arts Accessibility Equity Dashboard, and then more on utilizing professional development or utilizing your teachers to create professional development for each other within your district, and then more learning opportunities for you. Once we get down to arts integration, you'll see more definitions for that and that spectrum. We'll talk about that more in just a moment. And different pedagogy requirements. And so we'll talk more about that in a moment just as well. And then arts exposure is obviously from these wonderful organizations that we have sharing with you today, and many more in your local districts. So you want to really work with your community, your museums, teaching artists, performances, arts councils, all of those things to find ways to expose your students to professional arts education, both inside of your school and outside. And so there we include more on how you can raise funding for those things using ESSA funds and arts education, grant writing, etc. So we hope that you'll check out this CAE guide. We're very proud of it, and we think it's a really comprehensive document sharing all of the wonderful things that we offer and have for you. So we'll move forward again, just to briefly touch on arts integration as a spectrum, and that there are many ways that that can happen, and it can be from enhancement of arts in these non-arts classes, or enhancement of non-arts curriculum within your arts classes, and then that true integration where both standard course of study or both standards are equally emphasized and equally important. And all across that spectrum is relevant and equally important. So it's just nice to know when you do things where they fall on that spectrum to make sure you're hitting all across the board. So one other thing that we want to share in a little bit more detail is the arts integration training in EPPs. So there is a policy that says content and pedagogy requirements for EPP includes the following. Content and pedagogy requirements, ensuring that all EPPs remain current and reflect a rigorous course of study that's aligned to state and national standards. The state board shall require at least the following minimum requirements with demonstrated competencies. So providing training for elementary education teachers shall include instruction in integration of arts education across the curriculum. So this is stating clearly that all elementary education preparation programs or all elementary ed teachers need to have training in arts education. Arts integration. So we are hopeful that that will continue to grow and we'll find more about that. So all elementary educators who graduated after 2017 should have arts integration training. So be sure that you're aware of that and you're encouraging that and asking them about that training. All right, and then one more thing that we will be doing is more data gathering for CAE. So we will have this survey that we will ask for you to fill out to gather data for the CAE reporting. We will be resending this to you in our follow-up email. So be sure that you fill this out before May 31st. For us to be able to provide complete information to the NCGA Education Joint Legislative Oversight Committee. We are excited about that presentation, and we want to make sure that all of our information is complete and up to date. Another exciting change is that we have migrated from our Google Sites to the official NCDPI website. So all of our information is on that website. Make sure that you bookmark that. It is the easiest way to find us. And we have a bit.ly for you that also is a super quick reference for you to get to it. There, Brandon has included it. Or you can just simply search arts education in the search bar or type into your search bar NCDPI Arts Education, and that website will come up. But please make sure you bookmark that page. And make sure, next slide, that we add that to your website. So we want to make sure that all of your districts are linking directly to ours, our new official NCDPI Arts Education website, specifically from your district's websites. So we notice that many link either the wrong page or not at all. They might link to all of the other content areas, but not arts education. So please be sure to contact your website administrators and make sure that there is a link, because this is the easiest way for your folks in your districts to find us. And then one last thing that we want to be sure to share with you, these were some fabulous videos we want to make sure that you take a chance to check out. They are on our YouTube channel. You can share them, send them out, whatever you'd like to do. They're fabulous for teachers to use in the classrooms or share with students. I know lots of schools are asking about career guest speakers. Here you go. Here's 5 guest speakers that we did interviews with in March. And we provided these videos for you in March to celebrate Arts in Our Schools Month. These are 5 working professional artists in North Carolina or who are from North Carolina who make a career out of the arts. And many of them speak about their arts education experience in North Carolina as well and in our public schools and how that really prepared them for the careers that they have. So these are wonderful opportunities for you to share with your teachers and your students about the possibilities that our arts education can open for our students. All right, so we're gonna move on and have another little brain break reflection moment. What are your next steps around these things? The CAE guide and data gathering, our new NCDPI website for arts education, and linking to our website, and of course, those wonderful artworks videos. So you can let us know what your next steps are or just what you're excited about. That is always great as well. Great. We see James said he's the district co-webmaster, so just added the link to the district arts education page to NCDPI. Fabulous. Checking all curriculum links on the website, so the timing of the new link is perfect. Glad that CAE is becoming something we use rather than just a visual aid. Of course, we are really happy to have that framework on everything that we do as a foundation. Involving more of my teachers into the processes and keeping them aware of what to look for. Fantastic. So we are going to jump backwards just for a second since Melissa Poppy is here, and we're going to let her share about the North Carolina Art Education Association updates. Melissa?
Hey, I'm so sorry for being late. My replacement for posturing didn't show up right away. But hi, everyone. My name is Melissa Poppy. I am the president of the North Carolina Art Education Association, and thank you for being here. A couple of things just to let you know what's happening with our association is we have a wonderful fall conference that's coming up the last weekend in Wilmington of October, and we're super excited. We have a pre-conference and we have a lovely kind of pick your session. There's a couple of different versions that you can kind of pick, whether you want to do possibly a theater route or learn about the history of Wilmington, or have just a really great time painting in the plein air on the Wilmington beaches, which I think would be fabulous. And then one of our huge focuses for this conference is ED&I, and that truly kind of goes with the National Art Education Association initiative, that they have really started talking about how we can come together as a nation and making sure that everybody has resources to really identify and continue to elevate our use and acknowledgement and recognition of what equity, diversity, and inclusion actually looks like in the arts classroom. And we're very excited that they asked for a liaison for every single state, and we have one. And she has been attending different panels and different discussions, and we're going to kind of bring that to our own conference. And so we're super excited about that. A couple of things, you can kind of see our spring by design little emblem there. We're super excited that we were able to update our digital by design, and it looks wonderful. And our summer edition is going to be coming out in June 1st, and you can find that on our new updated North Carolina Art Education website, and it's the same address. We just completely revamped it and made it a whole lot more user friendly for everyone, as well as giving yes, of course you can attend. Please come. Someone just pressed it. Yes, please come to our conference. We are hoping to get registration out mid-June. We're working on finalizing a couple of things when it comes to speakers, but we're very excited that one of the guest speakers, actually two, because we have a pair, we're working with the North Carolina Museum of Art, and they are working, and they're illustrators, and they've just illustrated a book. And so they're going to be coming and talking about that, as well as doing workshops. So we're just connecting everything and making it very workshop heavy, as well as presentations. And again, with having the equity, diversity, and inclusion panel, we're just connecting it all together, and of course having it just unify us more as a association, because that we were listening to the feedback from our members, and they really want more hands-on pieces, and so that's what we're going to give them, as well as giving them what's kind of trickling down from our national affiliated association. So we're super excited on the track that we're going, and we're hoping to get a grant this summer from the North Carolina Arts Council. We're working on that right now. That's going to be released, and hopefully that will come together, and we'll get some funds for many different things that we want to do to help the visual arts. So yeah. Oh, look, thanks. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. I'll put my contact info in the chat, and I'm more than happy to let you know when things go live for registering. And yes, if you're a visual arts teacher, if you're not a visual arts teacher, please come. And we even have one of the people, Kathleen Collier, who is part of the North Carolina Arts Council, who's actually going to be a presenter at our conference, and she's going to actually help people know what the grants are and how to write a successful grant. So we're really utilizing all of our resources, and we're just super excited. So yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Melissa. We're glad that you made it and could share all of those fabulous things with us.
I'm so sorry that I got to go. I have students in the other room, but thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. We're going to skip ahead just a little bit as well, and we're going to move on to the North Carolina American String Teachers Association. And so we have Anita here to share with us about what they're up to.
Things are changing about every day. I keep looking at the website and something else keeps presenting. So it tells me things are coming back to normal. I put on there, I just added and just kind of updated some things. The Easter Music Festival's in June, and it's sometimes 1 week, 2 weeks. It's just according to registration's open. The Brevard Center has camps that are coming up. I put on there, mark your calendar for the Orchestra Festival, which is an all-state festival, which is in October, that we've had to cancel 2 years in a row. And then just some upcoming things like at the NCMEA conference. But I will say that the website is changing almost daily. So the thing is, things are coming back. The national organization is doing a lot with the diversity and equity and all that stuff. So things are coming in, and they are introducing a mentor program that I'm checking into a little bit more. They haven't got all the information on it yet. So the thing is just whether like myself, who's retired, can I be a mentor? And so I'm kind of looking into that. So we're trying to so I'll have that put on there as soon as I get all the information on it. But it's pretty starting to get exciting. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much, Anita. We are trying to figure out if we are able to move to the symphony yet. I know Jason is having a little bit of trouble getting
He's connected now.
Okay, so we'll move now to the North Carolina Symphony with Jason Spencer to give us those updates.
Let's see, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, great.
Yes.
Okay, thank you all so much. And it's great to join you all. I'm here from Mandy. We are having an education concert right now. But first of all, I just wanted to thank you all of you across the state, for helping us extend our reach virtually and in person this year. In total, we've served more than 75 counties across the state through virtual streaming and in-person programming. That totals more than 160,000 students statewide. To date, we've done 96 synchronous education programs and reached more than 475 teachers through our online resources, lessons, videos, and resources via our website. And real quick, I just want to share some of the pictures from this season. So I don't know if I have control of the slides, or Brandon, if you do. We'll go to the next slide if you do. Yes. So we started our in-person education concerts, resumed them back in January. This was definitely a highlight of the year. You can see some students hopping off the buses, coming to one of our first concerts back when the trees were bare and it was cold out. But we've since done, and go to the next slide to show some more pictures. We've done about 28 education concerts, half of them here in Raleigh and the other half statewide, Pitt County, Craven County, all of these counties around the state. We've served more than 20,000 students. Here you can see some students early on. They were social distanced in our concert hall. Everyone is masked. We've had students, all fourth graders from Wake County, Durham, Harnett, Lee counties. They've all come to see the symphony in person. And as I mentioned, we've done our statewide concerts as well. Next slide, please. For those that we could not serve, either due to travel, COVID, or other reasons, we were thrilled to launch our live streaming education concerts, which began back in March. This provided an opportunity for students and teachers to log in from their classrooms across the state. And we've had students join from as far away as Cherokee County, Swain counties, all the counties that we normally don't serve. So it's been a great opportunity to extend our reach. The next slide. And for those teachers kind of looking for a more engaging or interactive experience, our virtual interactive stage program has filled that need. Hosted on Zoom with our assistant conductor, Michelle DeRusso. It's a 45-minute, virtual interactive education concert. Students are able to join from their classrooms and watch our online education concert. We've served more than 10,000 students through this. This has been a great program for students, that we normally visit in person. Alamance County is a great example. They had 5,000 of their fifth graders join on Zoom for our virtual concert. Just another way to extend our reach even during these, hybrid times. Next slide. And then just looking ahead real quick to hopefully what is a new normal, we will bring back our annual teacher workshop for elementary music educators. This is a professional development workshop held here in Raleigh. This year it'll be on Tuesday, August 16th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Museum of Art. So great to partner with our statewide partner there at the museum. Beautiful venue. It will be in person and recorded. This is for elementary music teachers to come together, learn about the repertoire and the music and the lessons prepared for next year's education concert. So our statewide education concerts and activities will resume in October. Hopefully everything will be, back to a new normal then. We will continue our live streaming education concerts for those schools that might not be able to come to Raleigh, or again, that we might not be able to travel. So being able to live stream education concerts provides a whole new way to experience the symphony. Obviously, nothing can replace that live concert experience, but hopefully live streaming provides something. And we are increasing, I know one of the most frequently asked questions is, why don't you all come west more often? And we try. It's a long ways out there. And, thanks to the new state budget, there is some extra funding for us to increase our presence in Western North Carolina. So you can expect to see a lot more of the symphony programming out in the western part of the state. So we are coming out there. And lastly, continuing to provide our online resources, lessons, and videos. We found there was a great amount of interest in, having the resources and having the symphony be available. We are a state symphony and we want to serve the entire state. So having our content, our resources, our video as accessible as possible will help us achieve that mission and ultimately help you all be able to share with your music teachers and your art teachers the great music that the North Carolina Symphony has to offer. So that's all I've got. Thank you all so much for all that you are doing for arts education across the state. And I look forward to hearing more about it and the next year ahead. So thank you all.
Great. Thank you so much, Jason, and thanks for being here. Just for our bodies and our brains for a second, we're going to take a 30-second little break. You can either stand up where you are or you can stay seated if you're not in a place that you can stand up. So we're just going to take a few deep breaths and allow your spine to grow as you breathe in. And then as you exhale, let it collapse back down. So breathing in, nice and tall, and then exhaling. Again, as you inhale, imagine everything expanding up and down and out. And then exhaling. And this time, if you want to get a little bigger and even add your arms, you can. Exhaling, expanding everything like a giant balloon. And let it out. And now inhale one last time. As big as you can get, arms, legs, whatever you need, reaching out to all sides. Good, and let it back down. Roll the head. Go the other way. Good. If there's any little creaks, try to breathe into those. Take some big shoulder rolls. Take those shoulders all the way back. Good. And wherever you are, you can shake out one arm, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the other one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we'll switch to a leg and 1, 2. We might not be able to see it. That's okay. 6, 7, 8. Other leg, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whole thing. 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4 to the legs. 2, 3, 4, other leg, 2. Now 2 counts. Go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 count each. 1, 1, 1. Repeat it. 1, 1, 1. Shake everything. 8 counts. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and freeze. Woo! All right. Hopefully our brains are a little awake and our bodies are feeling a little less stiff. We're going to move on now to Brandon talking about professional development.
Thanks. I think that allowed me to not need another cup of coffee. I appreciate that. Which, if you know me, is a drop in the bucket. All right. So we wanted to share a little bit about the Advancing the Arts cohort that we have created this year. So again, what we did was we sent out a call to see if anybody wanted to be part of a data-driven examination of their district and see how we can systematically improve or advance the arts programs in our LEAs. And I just wanted to share with you some of the feedback that we've had so far from some of the district arts ed leaders, and there are some here from the 6 who participate. And then I also wanted to invite Courtney Fraser to just share a little bit about her experience so far and how this cohort has been useful to her. So go ahead, Courtney.
Hi, everyone. My name is Courtney. I'm with Iredell Statesville Schools, and I am the Fine Arts Content Coach for secondary education. And the DAEL cohort has been, I don't know what I would have done without it this year. This is my first full year in this position, and what the cohort did for me, it was a sounding board because of the expertise of the other participants. It encouraged me to gather data that allowed me to look at historic enrollment, compare my programs to other districts, and even compare within disciplines, within schools. I was able to develop surveys, which were both broad and specific, which really gave me information that allowed me to think about next year and developing a strategic plan that I could share out with my superiors and my superintendent and my school board that hopefully will focus on processes. That's the goal for next year, and advocating for budgeting and even advocating for a directorship for the district in order to coordinate everything. So I can't speak more highly about the experience, and I appreciate the time to talk about it.
Thank you so much, and we've loved having you in our group as well. Awesome. We have lots of questions about this all the time, and I wanted to share with you that James Doherty and I have been working with the NAFME State Advocacy Engagement Manager. Some of you may know her, Jasmine A. Sutton. She now works for NAFME, the National Association, to put together guidance on how arts education can actually be funded using a variety of ESSA funding streams. So you can check out that document at any point. We rolled it out softly. It is available on our website as well if you ever need it underneath the DAEL tab on our website. And you might find some gems in there. I also wanted to share with you that CDAE is our national professional organization for state agency arts education directors. So basically, Sayward, Lori, and I. And they engage in a variety of grant-funded work every year. This coming grant is focused about leading and learning through virtual arts education. I know we think that we're sort of moving back towards just the classroom, but virtual arts education and components of technologically infused arts education will probably never go away. So please stay tuned to the listserv to find out more about their project and what free professional development they will provide, not just to district leaders, but also to classroom teachers. We also have had 3 very short meetings throughout this year to check in and discuss specific matters up close. And these are hyperlinked in your participant notes for you to come back at your own convenience. Again, we focused this year on professional development aimed directly at the district arts education leader. And we covered these 3 topics, which featured a large cadre of experts to help disseminate the highest quality information we had. And we will actually be covering this last session in just a few minutes at today's meeting. One of the strongest resources that we created this year was actually in conjunction with our Title III ESL team here, and taking the point of view of an actual arts teacher. So how would an arts teacher need to use this information? We examined where instructional language actually is used to teach the arts in English, and wrote these guides to accompany the webinars to really assist arts educators to best serve their multilingual students. In fact, even NAFME thought it was so strong that they invited us to present at their national conference this November. So we're going to take a little closer look briefly. After some of the front material in the document that sort of just explains what instructional language is, there are 2 main parts to the document. And there's the table which identifies how prominent a specific key language use is, and that mode of communication, which of course all of that is explained in that front material. There's a table also of Bloom's verbs taken directly from the standards with these same language uses and modes of communication. So you are welcome to take a look at these documents. And when you go through them, make sure you're thinking about them, again, from that teacher point of view. How could teachers use them in PLCs? How could teachers use them on their own? And a couple ways, oops, I went too far. In PLCs, they might unpack those key languages uses in the standards. They might actually examine their classroom practices and see if they seem to align with the content actually in the table. And you can start re-examining your pacing guides to see if your instructional language is lining up with these documents as well. You can take a look at these Bloom's verbs and calibrate where these are. So when we are understanding, we are just taking in information. But when we are describing something, we're giving that information back. And so all of that understanding what role language has from the teacher to the student and what kind of language expectations we have from the student back to the teacher are really important, especially when we take a look at that specific multilingual learner's modifications or their scores. And in the webinar, hopefully you participated with us, we actually went through how to find those in their ELL report. And then WIDA, who's the official authority on multilingual standards, and then our state ELD standards have these proficiency level descriptors. So you might have an elementary schooler who is very low proficient in English, or you might have a high schooler that's very low proficient in English, and those actually look different. Just because of the age of the brain and the level of complexity and understanding of language in perhaps a different language. And so being able to look at how to engage a student in language and then looking at where that language exists inside of our art standards is really imperative to be able to write EL modifications into the lesson plan. So we've got lots of professional development offerings that we have created this year, and we'd love to hear what you are most excited about exploring next as we roll forward and welcome Jonathan. Oh my, I am not going to try your last name. I am so sorry. As somebody who doesn't like it when people mispronounce my last name, please introduce yourself, Jonathan, who is the new president from NCMEA.
It's no problem. Can you hear me, Brandon? All right, my name is Jonathan Hamill. It's Jonathan Hamill, and I'm the president of NCDPI. First of all, I would like to thank Sayward and Brandon and Lori and all of the arts coordinators who have continually supported music education through this past pandemic and through this past few years. We really appreciate it, and we couldn't do what we do if you didn't support us and advocate for us for music in the classroom. So, like I was saying, I'm the president of NCDPI, and NCDPI, as a state affiliate of the National Association for Music Education, works to advance music education by promoting and understanding the making music by all. Now, what I'm going to talk about is our IVFME, and IVFME stands for Inclusive Vision for Music Education. The IVFME committee is our equity committee, and it was formerly called the Multicultural Awareness Committee. The reason for the name change is because we felt that multicultural was a term that was outdated and overused, so we wanted to revamp it. One thing that our IVFME committee is doing and our whole organization is doing is we have started a new piano and guitar committee. I'm really excited about the new piano and guitar committee, because in the past, piano and guitar would fall under general music, but we realized during the pandemic 3 things. One, several music programs and music educators teach piano and guitar, so we needed to provide more professional development, more training, more resources, and performance opportunities for these teachers. 2, we also have music teachers that are primarily teaching band, orchestra, and chorus, and have to teach a section of guitar or a section of piano to be considered full-time, but don't have the experience needed to be a successful piano and or guitar teacher. So we wanted to provide them with an opportunity for that. And 3, piano and guitar classes are another way of breaking down that financial barrier that prohibits students from participating in music in the public school system. For example, and me being a band guy, I can tell you, a tuba can be $9,000. You know, a class set of pianos or a class set of guitars can be half of that. Plus, students can take different levels of piano and guitar in any grade. Once again, I'm a band teacher, and it's really hard for a kid to come and teach or to try to enroll in band for their senior year. It's almost impossible, you know, but we can do that with piano and guitar. Next, we, along the lines of equity and IVFME, we have created a new Hortense N. Reed Scholarship. The Hortense N. Reed Scholarship is awarded to a non-majority minority music education major who is a resident of North Carolina, attending a North Carolina college or university. Hortense Reed was the first full-term president of NCDPI and the first minority president of NCDPI from 1971 to 1973. Hortense Reed graduated and served Howard University, which is an HBCU in Washington, D.C. And although it is not it's not a requirement for the applicant, we do encourage HBCU students to apply. The scholarship is a one-time award for $2,000, and it will be paid in a lump sum to the recipients and the college or university at the beginning of the recipient's senior year. Next, we're really trying to hone in on equity and inclusion by equity training with North Carolina ACDA. In our attempt to build a stronger relationship amongst our musical organizations, we're offering an equity education seminar with the executive committees of NCDPI and the executive committee of ACDA, which will be led by Dr. Constance McCoy, a professor of music education at UNCG, one of the leading experts on cultural responsive teaching. So we're really excited about that. One thing that we would really like for you to take back to your districts about advocacy is the arts are eligible use for Title I funds, such as funds under ESSA, that's the Every Student Succeed Act. In the slide, you can see the hyperlink that NAFME, our parent organization, has listed different items, resources, services, and equipment that Title I funds may be used to assist music programs. Last and definitely not least is our professional development conference, and that's going to be held November 5th through the 8th in Winston-Salem. The theme for our professional development conference is redefining success. Normally when we think of success, we think of the biggest and the best accomplishments, but our conference this year is targeting on what success looks like in different parts of our state. Success can look different ways depending on your community, on what your community values the most. If you would look in the NCDPI Spring Journal, that's the last link that you see there, you can look at my president's message and you will see different ways throughout our state where our music educators have exhibited redefining success. So if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm Jonathan Hamill. I'll put my email in the chat and or our new executive director, Susan Heisman. And I think she's here as well, so she can put her email in the chat as well. If there are any further questions, just like I said, send me an email. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. And we're going to now turn it over to the North Carolina American Choral Directors Association, and that is Jose joining us.
Hi.
Thanks, Jose.
Can you hear me?
Yes, great. Thank you.
Great. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and I really enjoyed your presentation, buddy, right before me. So thank you so much for that great presentation. My name is Jose Rivera, and I am the president-elect for ACDA for North Carolina. We are rejoicing, as you can all imagine, after the pandemic, and we're celebrating. We're celebrating a new era, a new time in which we could reconnect, we could reignite, we could refresh what we used to do before, and now with even a better purpose. We are getting ready for our NCACDA Fall Conference, which will take place on October the 7th and the 8th, and this will be at Duke Chapel. It is the first time that we've done our conference at this great venue. We're very thankful for the opportunity to do that there, and we know that we will be attracting lots of people because everyone loves choral music at Duke Chapel. And so we're really excited to be hosting Jason Max Ferdinand Singers, and he's a huge draw around the country right now. He has written books, he's performed internationally all over the United States, and he's a person who walks the walk, and we are so inspired by what he does, and so we're excited to have him here in North Carolina. At our conference, we will also have opening sessions. The opening session will revolve around community choral ensembles, and we want to not only feature our university, our school, children, church, but this time we want to focus on those ensembles that sing in community settings and who are from different age levels as well. Besides that, we'll have reading sessions like we traditionally do, learning and looking at diverse music. We will also host a hymn festival, intra-sessions for teachers and choral directors at universities and churches and children's choirs. And we will have, of course, performances by selected groups, ensembles, vocal ensembles, who will be performing throughout the 2 days. We also have NC Sings, which features our high school students that are going to be representing all the areas of North Carolina. So that is really big. In terms of what we're doing this year that is different, or that is a continuation of what we've done before, our DEI committee has taken charge and are really working hard in expanding our constituency, expanding what we're able to do for the community, and to represent all people in our organization. Part of that is, of course, what Jonathan just mentioned about a seminar that we'll be co-hosting. We also have an advocacy group that is really looking forward to exploring all those areas that we had not talked about or explored in the past. And so there are great conversations happening with stakeholders who normally had never been part of our organization. We also have a scholarship committee that will also be looking at how do we help new teachers and how do we help people come to our conference. We are living, as you know, in a new world post-pandemic, and singing was hit hard throughout schools. I don't think I should be preaching to the choir because you all know as our arts partners, but I will tell you that the conversations that we're hearing in these committees are really inspiring, and we're just hoping that you all know that we are going to be recommitting ourselves to doing the best we can to help out our teachers in public schools, to help our choral directors in churches, directors who are also in the field, community, and children's choirs. And that's why we're celebrating and we're reigniting, we're re-illuminating at our conference that will take place this October 7th and 8th at Duke Chapel. So thank you so much for the opportunity to share this. And we also will have a luncheon at the NCMEA conference, which we have traditionally held every year.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jose, for being here and sharing this wonderful information. We're going to pass it over to Lori to talk about some more resources that we have at NCDPI for you.
Hello again, everyone. I'm going to fly through these because I know that most of you are already aware of them. And if you're not, we have the links here for you to check them out. And you can always reach out to us. We just want to make sure that we have enough time for our PD session and the other things that are to follow. So the first piece I am so incredibly proud of. There is the Arts Education Professional Development Catalog. This team has done more in the short period of time that they worked together than in all of my career as an arts educator in North Carolina. So I'm very proud of the exceptional professional development that they've put together. A lot of you have been called on to assist with this professional development, and my eternal thanks goes out to you, because I think in arts education, I might be biased, but I think we have one of the most robust areas for professional development, especially that on-demand professional development. So we know that's what teachers want right now. So if you have educators reaching out to you for professional development in the arts, this is your one-stop shop. So I encourage you to check out all of the different things that we have available there. Additionally, we have the Arts Ed Administrator Guides. These were put together prior to the pandemic, and we found that they are an amazing quick tool for administrators as a look for as they assist with their arts programs and teacher evaluations. There you can find an view of the art education program, what it might look like in a classroom. I know that when the principal or the superintendent walked into my classroom, it was always there was always a moment where I thought, this does not look like any other classroom in this school district. So I hope that they understand what's going on. And fortunately they did. But some don't. Some don't have that training to understand what an arts classroom should look like and sound like and feel like. So these guides are really exceptional for helping them to just get that base knowledge as well. The next one we have, I could say I'm incredibly proud of everything, and I am. And the Arts Education Course Manual, I think, is also a tremendous help, especially to those of you district leaders who are needing to work with your power school teams to ensure that the course codes are properly identified and utilized so that our students get credit for their arts education courses as the new arts education graduation requirement comes online. We want to make sure that you know this is not new information, but it definitely needs to be shared with your data managers, with your principals, and with your teachers. A lot of teachers, like me, have courses that are their babies, that they just want to teach those specific courses every year, and they might be local, local codes, but those don't necessarily count for that arts education requirement. And so there are some changes there that people need to be aware of. I hope that hasn't been confusing. It isn't nearly as confusing as I made it sound, but you are going to want to access that information and share it with those responsible for all things course coding. As I fly through again, on the last thing I want to share about our SEL standards mapping documents. Of course, SEL is such a priority for us right now, and we know that it is for you and for your teachers. So we want to ensure that it's interwoven into the fabric of our lesson plans so that you can move forward your students' arts education, but also help them to meet their social and emotional needs. So we want to highlight these SEL standards mapping documents they were produced agency-wide, so they exist for all of the content areas, and you can find lesson ideas to integrate SEL skills, and you can embed SEL specific skills into your teaching styles. So you can find these documents and more when you go to the DPI site. So we have another little break here, and I'm a little breathless as I get to it, but it is a moment for reflection for you. So as you look to your next steps, as we go into our next section here, please consider what will you do with these resources, the professional development catalog, the arts administrator guides, the arts ed course manual, and the SEL standards mapping documents. I'm sure in your mind you have a couple of people that you want to get these resources to, or that you want to become more familiar with yourself.
Great. Thank you so much, Lori. Yeah, go ahead and share those in the chat and continue sharing and thinking about that while we just jump forward. I'm going to share the update from North Carolina Thespians. So their motto is shaping lives through theater education, honoring student achievement in theater, supporting teachers by providing professional development resources and recognition, and influencing public opinion that theater education is essential and builds life skills. So they have some wonderful events coming up. The Junior Thespian Festival. Each fall, they celebrate middle school students with one-acts, thespies, and workshops. They have FilmWorks, which is a week-long film creation event. All-state theater, where students can participate in a statewide theatrical production. Regionals, that is a qualifying event for our Thespi program, or their Thespi program. Students can compete in different theatrical events there. And then, of course, their State Thespian Festival, which is at ECU in March of 2022. So I guess that just happened, but keep in mind about next year, but that's a celebration for them. Which had workshops, thespies, one-acts, tech challenges, and much more. So you can feel free to reach out and contact them if you need any more information or you have questions. They are super accessible, both Chris and Medina, who are the chapter co-directors, and just a lot of fun to talk to. So they are happy to answer any questions that you have or any interest that you may have in their programs. We will move forward now to the North Carolina Theater Arts Educators with Chuck sharing about what they've been up to. Oh, Chuck, I think you're still muted.
How's that?
That's great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sayward. Thank you, Brandon and Lori, for making this possible. Do want to share with you what North Carolina Theater Arts Educators has been up to so far this year. Our primary focus has been helping our members overcome the pandemic and keep things moving forward. We've maintained membership contacts with encouragement and support. 3 weeks before our planned fall sharing conference, a 2-day conference, we switched that over to a virtual fall caring mini conference with 2 general sessions and 18 workshops. In February, we held a strategic planning retreat for our board and leadership and established working goals for the next 5 years. In April, we wrapped up our Young Playwrights season with a showcase featuring the work of 10 student playwrights at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. Next slide. Thank you. Our goals and plans for the coming year. This is our 25th anniversary as an organization. Increasing our membership. In September, we will have a 2-day conference in Greensboro. Our fall sharing conference, 4 master classes scheduled, 3 general sessions, 40 to 50 workshops, and our anniversary gala. Our focus for that conference is teachers teaching teachers. We are the experts in our field. In February, our Winter Focus Conference, this year's topic is stage management, led by Lisa Stafford, a former North Carolina theater arts educator and now a Broadway stage manager, learning from a professional as we drive depth in one topic for 3 more days. Next. Our continuing goals with our Young Playwrights program, we offer multifaceted in playwriting. So not only with theater teachers, we have a number of English teachers participate in our teacher training program, equipping educators with skills to teach playwriting to students at all grade levels. We have a festival that celebrates student playwrights. Submitted works are adjudicated and juried, prizes are awarded. And then each spring, a showcase with staged readings of the works from 10 student playwrights at the elementary, middle, and high school levels. So students not only write and submit and get feedback from professional playwrights, they also have the opportunity to have their work showcased on a stage. We work with UNCG and Triad Stage in Greensboro on that. And several years ago, we began publishing a book of our award-winning student plays each year. Next slide. If you have questions, comments, or feedback, I'll be glad to respond to anything in the chat. Also, our contact information is there. Ricky Gibbs is our secretary. She and I are both part of the Arts Education Leadership Coalition. If we have anything, and our website is linked there. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Chuck, for sharing that and for being here with us. We are excited about everything you all are doing. So I'm going to quickly touch through just a few things that we have coming out this summer. We have a new teacher toolkit that is a great resource to get your new hires from 0 to 60 right off the bat in the first year. So they'll be wonderful for them to check out. These new teacher toolkits will highlight recorded PD sessions and resources that teachers will want to explore when they start in your LEA for the first year. So these are great things for them to make sure they have. And then also, we want to know what things you want for next year as we start planning. We spend our summer planning for you. So what PD topics are you looking for you specifically as arts leaders, and then for your teachers as well? Also, are you looking at maybe, would you like an online publication or a magazine? We have some examples from other sections from DPI there that you can take a look at if that's something that you think you all would utilize and be interesting to you. What about bringing back Arts Are for Life, but under a different name that talks about comprehensive arts education? Are you wanting to get back to doing statewide conferences? And then how do you see these DAEL meetings? Would you like more informal meetings? Keep it to 2 bigger meetings a year? Peer mentoring. And then remember that this year we focused on building back stronger and starting that ATA, which is Advancing the Arts cohort. And those were a direct result of the information you shared with us last spring meeting. We listen, we adjust, we take your feedback from every survey and reach out if there's something we can address or create PD for you moving forward. So be thinking about those things, and you'll have an opportunity to share that in your end of webinar survey today. So just be thinking. And also be thinking now what you'll explore this summer, whether it be those new teacher toolkits, next year's PD, or standards revision. And you can share that in the chat if you'd like, or just be thinking while we move on. And we invite Laura here from the North Carolina Dance Education Organization to share what they've been up to.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Sayward and Brandon and Lori. I echo the sentiments from the other arts leaders. Thank you for having us join you all today. My name is Laura Stotterman, and I am the president of the North Carolina Dance Education Organization. We are a state affiliate of the National Dance Education Organization. Our membership consists of individual members as well as institution members. And with the institutional membership, our teachers have an opportunity to extend the National Honor Society for Dance Arts to their students. So this is a great thing that we have much pride in, and we are about to recognize our graduating seniors from the middle as well as the high school levels with a statewide slideshow. And then we also have one for the national level in which our students are recognized. So if you do have teachers in your districts who have these honor societies, we appreciate any reminders that you are sending out that we might pass along to get that information so we can promote the success of the dance students in our state. We are starting regional directors and regional committee chairs to help us understand. We know that there's a lot of singletons as we go towards the west or towards the east. And so you might only have one dance educator in your district. And we want to make sure that we are there to provide support for them. So we do offer professional development. We offer resources and just a way to connect us. And so please, if you reach out to us, we're happy to reach out to your teachers as we're trying to find out who they are and where they are, to let them know that we exist for them. We recognize that dance is not perhaps as prominent as band or chorus in most of the schools, but dance is one of the most essential art forms for SEL as we are using our human bodies and connecting. And many of these programs, these students are creating. And so the interaction that they're having is so important in the development of their creative skills that will last them into any career. And so thank you as arts educators and leaders in your districts for helping to keep dance alive in your schools. We do not have a professional conference on our books yet, but we do look forward to bringing that back. We, of course, took a hiatus with COVID. We did offer some professional development sessions online, but we look forward to reaching back out regionally, as well as having a statewide organization meeting for all of our educators. And we also have a grant opportunity where teachers who are our members can apply to bring an artist, a member of NDEO, into their schools to deliver professional development or to offer a master class. So we hope that your teachers will take advantage of this, or that you would even want to take advantage of this as an educational organization leadership, and reach out to us, and we can look at providing funding to bring an artist into your schools or to work with your teachers directly. That's pretty much all I have. Again, thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you all today. And our information is on this slide. You can dig deeper into our strategic plan. We publish a quarterly newsletter, so please take a look at that to see things that we have been up to. And there's my email address for you all. So thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, Laura, and for sharing all of that. We are going to dive now into our specific PD session for you on building a positive arts education teacher environment. So we want you to take a moment to think and share in this answer garden. If you could picture your ideal arts program, either at the district level or the school level, whatever it is you want to think about, what would it look like? What words come to mind? Think big. What do you want your teachers to feel or your students to feel? Where does your train of thought take you? So just type in those words, and this can be everyone. Those of you who are our guests, go ahead and participate in this as well. We'd love to hear what everyone thinks might be the words that describe your dream arts program. We're going to take a second. Once you start adding these things in, we'll see our big collaborative list here of all of these words that we hope to see or feel in our programs. Empowered, collaborative, all for arts, support, inclusive, school-wide, empowered, all arts, all grades, integrated, plenty of resources, two-way arts integration, broad and specific, funded, equal access, excited, These are amazing. And we see something that is popping up quite a bit here, right? All for arts. So this is really exciting just to see robust collaboration, modern, complete, space for everyone, equal access. Amazing, life-changing, great, innovative. I see some amazing words here that we're going to move forward as you continue to check back. We'll take a look at them at the very end too and see if anything else has been added or changed. But the 4 things we want to talk about today as your ingredients, and these 4 things were actually taken specifically from our statewide AIM conference. Julie Pittman works in our superintendent's office, and she shared a wonderful presentation about creating a positive environment for teachers. And so we really took those ingredients and said, how do we apply those to arts education specifically, and look through that filter of arts ed to create positive environment for arts teachers, not just all teachers, but specifically arts teachers for us that we want to look at. Those 4 barriers that are 4 things that she looked at as ingredients were remove barriers. So that's like, I'm going to talk about this in as though you're gardening. It's like clearing the space or weeding and preparation for what you'd like to plant or what you'd like to grow, right? So we've got to get rid of all that unnecessary stuff first. The second one is creating supportive policies. So this is like preparing the soil or even the pot or where you're going to plant this thing or what you need to do before planting it, setting the foundation. If that foundation and that soil is not what it needs to be, then you can't grow and build something from there. The third one is providing materials, support, and PD. So you need ingredients or materials to make something grow. You obviously need seeds to grow something, but water and sunlight. This is what you provide that is necessary or needed. So you also need gloves, tools, materials. We need those materials. We need the nutrients that come in or that PD, and we need the support from the soil. So those are all of those things. And the last one is professional respect and communication. So this goes beyond what you think first of being necessary ingredients. This is more, right? We need to check on those plants regularly, see what they need, see what they're lacking. What do we need to give them a little more of? And have you ever heard that saying that if you talk kindly to plants, they grow better and faster and stronger? That if we give positive reinforcement and we talk nicely to them, or, the same goes for our animals or our pets and our children and our relationships. So that relationship part and that positive communication is really important in building that for our teacher environment as well. So Brandon's going to talk to us for a second about removing barriers.
Awesome. So we're going to share an article really quickly in the chat, and we ask that you all open it. And I want you to take a look at the list of the top 10 challenges that are barriers in arts education. So I'll give you 30 seconds to open it.
And this is a blog post. It is a few years old. There are obviously more things now, but it's a great summary from Americans for the Arts to just kind of get you thinking about things we might face.
Right, and we discussed a lot about, how do we frame barriers, and we wanted to say, well, I bet some people already are great at removing some of these. So if you would like to unmute or chat and share a way that your district has removed some of these barriers, of course, very quickly, that would be great. We know so many of you work so hard to remove barriers. Maybe typing them into the chat and then we'll call them out.
Yeah.
So James is talking about funding, which is the #1 challenge. And so trying to utilize Title IV funds to remove barriers. That's great.
Yeah, and even Jonathan had mentioned with NCMEA, right, breaking down barriers to access to different types of classes or instruments. So looking again at those funding materials, grants, scholarships, resources that can break down those barriers.
Great. Yeah, Wendy talks about utilizing community partnerships, and Sandy's talking about the district provides funding and making sure that those funds are utilized to repair instruments, which is a great thing as well. Awesome. And I know that our Advancing the Arts group is looking at different ways to ask teachers and survey, like Courtney was talking about, survey teachers to find out what they need and what they still have. Yes, James has worked to provide a 4-year plan to make sure that students can stay involved in the arts. Wonderful. Communication with central office, providing a liaison for each school. That's amazing. Love it. All right. Throwing it back to Sayward.
Yeah, so to just piggyback on that, creating supportive policies is one of those ways you all just talked about, right? So how do we create supportive policies, and what are some of those things that we want to look for? So with all the research that we did and everything we started looking into, we found they kind of lumped into 3 categories, and that all of those categories really affected each other. So it's like a constant wheel going in both directions, and similar to that 3-legged stool, but really they all inform each other. So you want to make sure that there's innovation, or you're encouraging innovation, you're encouraging collaboration, and you're encouraging sustainability. So these 3 practices are really important to feel support and to build support. So when we're collaborative, we are more innovative, and then in turn, we can sustain longer when being fed or motivated. When we're encouraged to be creative or innovative, we're more likely to collaborate with others. And when we're able to sustain, we're more able to allow innovation and collaboration to happen. So let's dive deeper into these for a second and look at innovation. We found that there were 3 key things that happen for innovation, right? There's got to be trust there. You have to build trust, but you also have to show trust in your teachers, that you trust their decisions, you trust their process, their practice, and they need to be able to trust you as well. Giving freedom to explore so that they can really explore those new ideas. How do they be innovative if they're afraid to try something new, or they're afraid it's going to be shut down? So, just like we build our own creative practice or arts practice, we want to encourage those teachers to try new things, and our district leaders. Encouraging new ideas, even if they fail, right? Just that we're trying and attempting new things is the only way that they grow. Reducing intimidation or fear of failure. So no one wants to call out or share an idea if you think that you're going to be laughed at or intimidated or shot down. So how do you reduce those fears of failure or intimidation? And shaking things up, throwing some new challenges out there and saying, hey, can you think of an idea for this? Or, something that can make it a little bit different to get people thinking about that innovation. And encouraging creativity and out-of-the-box thinking. But then again, we want to make sure we have time, and we provide time to explore those things that we wanted. So not just the freedom, but the actual time to plan. How do we be innovative if we have no time to plan moving forward? Encouraging research as practice, encouraging creative practice, rewarding process over product, and also finding a process to assess or screen, prioritize, and execute these new ideas. Then we want to make sure that we're sharing new ideas, we're sharing feedback, we're rewarding those new ideas and experimentation, again, even if they fail, but hey, you tried something new, it maybe didn't work this time, that how can we shift that and think about, just revamping it for the next time we try it. Keeping things fun, that it's okay if something doesn't work perfectly. What do? We learn from it, we laugh about it, we move forward. Process for giving feedback, praise, reflection, growth, and goals. So that praise is really important here, and recognizing progress and success. So when we move forward to collaboration, we have this like whole web here. When you say encourage collaboration, a lot of times teachers think there's like one person that I'm going to collaborate with. And if that doesn't work, then I'm done. I didn't have anyone to collaborate with this year. So when you're encouraging teachers to collaborate, you want them to think about the larger web of people they can collaborate. Imagine if you encouraged every teacher to collaborate one time throughout the year. If everybody's collaborating with one other teacher throughout the year, how many networks then start to bleed through to each other? So we're going to use this example of one music teacher at maybe one middle school. So that music teacher can then collaborate with any of their school's arts programs or all of them together. So they can collaborate with dance, they can collaborate with visual art, with theater. You can do a whole production with all 4 of those groups collaborating together on one thing. Now you look a little bit bigger and you look at the other electives at your school. How could they collaborate with CTE and do some music editing and some really cool projects with both of those classes together? Or health and PE with music. World languages, studying world music and the history behind it and speaking another language in the music that you're singing. We've actually had people do that with us before and share that, and it's fantastic. Even your media teachers, how can you get collaborative with some projects there across the board? Then you think bigger across the whole school. So we start looking at those required content areas of social studies, ELA, science, and math. And music can tie completely into all 4 of those subjects. You could do something with just an individual classroom teacher, or you could say, hey, let's do an entire grade-wide collaboration with all of the required content areas and music blending together. How fabulous would that be to have content standards across that whole grade level working together? Then we look even bigger. We say, okay, we looked at our school. Now let's look outside of your school. You have your elementary music teacher and your high school music teacher that you could collaborate with across those levels and say, how can our middle school students work with our elementary and do something together, or work with our high school, or maybe all 3 schools together? Or you look at other middle school programs across your district. Let's do a whole collaboration with other middle school music programs just in our grade band together, or even branching out past that district across other districts, the neighboring district. Let's work with another music teacher two districts away and find a way to collaborate and do something jointly. And then we look even bigger and we say our local arts organizations, those arts councils, those music groups that are nearby, maybe even a totally different art that comes in and does something with your music class, and they collaborate together. You create music based on a piece of art that you're seeing at the art museum. How can you really get creative and think about utilizing those local arts organizations, but also teaching artists, former students and alumni, and even parents of your students that may have some wonderful gifts that they can come in and collaborate with you. And then a lot of times they'll volunteer and you don't even have to pay them. So then we think even bigger, and we look at also your statewide organizations like us at DPI. What can we do? We love collaborating with you and all of your individual organizations like NCMEA, NCDEO, et cetera, and ways that they might want to collaborate or find other people within their organization to collaborate. So there's no excuses about not being able to find someone to collaborate with, but the thing is you have to encourage it. You have to let them know that these possibilities are out there, because sometimes we get so stuck on thinking, well, this one person, that's not going to work out, so I wash my hands of it. But there's so many more opportunities out there, and it needs to be encouraged. So now we'll take a look at sustainability. How do we encourage sustainability of 3 things, right? Our mind, our body, and our soul all have to sustain in order for us to be happy in what we're doing and be able to continue doing it. So where we talk about mind, that's like our creative practice. That is really important for us to think about with arts teachers, because they are not only teaching classes, they are having to be directors of arts programs, directors of concerts, directors of musical productions, choreographers, writing their own music sometimes, editing their own videos sometimes. So they have to be an artist, and they are judged just as much on their own artistic abilities and practice as they are their teaching skills. They are the only teachers that are also judged on how well was that piece of choreography that you just put on, right? And multiple pieces, not just one. Most college professors only have to choreograph one piece per semester. And we have teachers that are choreographing 10, 12 or more pieces a semester, right? Or music teachers who are putting on tons and tons of pieces of music, because there's different music for each class that they have to then put on, and they might write their own stuff as well. So there's so much that needs to go into also encouraging that creative practice so that they don't feel burnt out and they're able to sustain that. When we talk about body, that is really important, because another aspect of these arts teachers that a lot of other teachers do not face as much is the breakdown of the body. We are physically, all 4 arts areas, physically using our bodies on a daily basis. And injuries happen, things break down faster the more that you're using them. This little graphic at the bottom talks about the 5 main injuries of performing arts educators would be neck strains, rotator cuff impingements, lower back strains, muscle spasms, snapping hip syndrome. There's all kinds of injuries that can happen to teachers. So we have to make sure that they're the flooring that they're standing on a daily basis is going to be able to keep their body up to what they need to be able to do, or they might have breaks that they need to take care of their bodies, so that there's an understanding that there's a different physical need than sometimes some of our other instructors, and just to be aware of that. And then also our soul, of course, that teachers need to have what feeds them. We've talked about this in our self-care series, and there's a ton of great webinars that you can share with your teachers in your districts about that, specifically about utilizing your art form to feed yourself and to take care of yourself, in addition to working with your students. So I'll move forward from there and let Brandon talk a little bit about providing materials, support, and PD.
Great. I think most of us know these things, but it's really important to visit them. Providing materials and support, some of that depends on your teacher. What does your teacher specialize in? What kind of pedagogy do they subscribe to? What kind of space do they need? What kind of materials are they not getting, or how much material do they have that's in their room that they're not using, right? Taking a look at those or creating those sorts of inventories that you can share district-wide. We can also look at the way that professional development is utilized, keeping in mind the physical and logistical demands of teaching the courses, and encouraging professional development related to both their interests but also their needs. Are they doing formative assessment in the band classroom? Are they doing summative assessment in theater, right? Taking a look at the time and the ability to still work on creative practice, both as professional development and creating art, taking classes, performing. It all adds up to the knowledge and experience of the teacher being able to pass that on to the students, and feeds their soul by keeping them engaged in the work. As Sayward said, all arts teachers are expected to be artistic directors in their fields, as well as in engaging students in the actual practice. And then encouraging training and mentoring for going into leadership roles, giving responsibility in other areas and aspects of the school, including them on committees to show that they value their expertise with teaching the whole school or all grade levels, and how they contribute to the school community as a whole, and how they can contribute to the systematic level of the school as well. And then digging deep into those professional development opportunities as well. Ask them what they want. bring in guests and experts, but also leverage the knowledge that you have within your school district and within those teachers as well. And really taking a look at your ability to fund state conferences. We know that a lot of LEAs cannot pay for memberships, but if teachers are able to have their conference fees paid for it, then they only have half the cost of the total package for membership and conference. Especially if you are in a smaller LEA where a large music teacher professional development session is not necessarily something you can create because of the low numbers of those kinds of teachers. All right, so we'll go ahead and take a look at the last section here before jumping in and having conversations with our guests.
Yeah, so we also want to talk about professional respect and communication. So what do we mean by professional respect? Really making time for those deeper conversations, that all opinions and voices are valued and that what they say can be implemented if gone through the appropriate process. That there is professional collaboration and collegiality, right? There's a mutual respect between the teachers, the administrators, the district arts leaders, and that's across the board. And that respect is really valued and shown and felt. The relationships, so finding time to build relationships or have fellowship between teachers, but also the teachers with administrators and the teachers with the district leaders. So I know a lot of you have really been working on that piece with your teachers, making a point to try to go in and visit each one of your classrooms at some point throughout the year and face-to-face meet with your teachers, or find times on a professional development day to have them all be together from one content area that you can go join in with them and socialize with them in a bit, but also share and talk and, just really feel like you're building that relationship is important. And then, of course, regular checkups are also important, even just an email, hey, how's it going? Is there something you need? Is there anything that I can do? Letting them know that someone is there, someone is checking in on them and feels like they care about what they're doing. Newsletters, we've heard of some of you doing weekly or monthly newsletters just to your teachers from you on what you're working on. And then again, as I said, going to visit them or even finding ways to do some swap days where teachers could maybe switch. I know at a school I worked at that I was at a middle school and we did a swap day with the high school that it fed into. So I could go spend a day with those high school students and the high school teacher could come to the middle school and work with those middle school students and help recruit. And it was just so refreshing to have that day of working with these kids that I knew my students would feed into. And then the most important thing here is messaging that what the teachers do matters. So that is your administrators and you as district leaders and other teachers, acknowledging, praising, celebrating what they do is important. And that message is really important for people to hear. With communication, like I just mentioned, communicating with the DAELs, communicating with your teachers, your principals and your schools, but also your community and news and how do you get things out in the public. And then, of course, sending us as state leaders as much as you can. We want to know what you're doing. We want to celebrate you and highlight you as well. And we will share as much as you send us. Also, communication from your principals with your teachers, with your community and parents, and also, again, with your district and state leaders, inviting them to things, sending specific invitations. Hey, come see my show. I have a seat reserved for you. It's ready for you. Invite them to come into your classes. I also had a school with a principal who was not a dancer or an artist, and he would come in once a week to one of my classes and actually participate with my students. And he made sure to go into each arts class at some point throughout the week and really feel like he was participating and learning with the students. So after he'd see the show, he'd say, hey, I saw when they were working on that in your class, and then I saw it in the performance, and this is what I took from it. And that feedback afterwards was really, really meaningful because I knew that he meant it. And then teachers communicating with your community, your parents, sharing about the process and the standards and the connections that you're doing at your events. Put it as part of your show to say, hey, this is the standard that we touched on learning this piece of music, or put it in your program book. that parents are really being educated along with coming and seeing the performances. The community is being educated while they're coming to share what you're wanting to show them. And again, with your administrators and district leaders and state leaders as well. And then celebration, we want to make sure that arts teachers are recognized and we celebrate them in the newspapers. Maybe even have principals or district leaders stand up and introduce them before the show starts, right? If you come to their show, hey, I'll introduce you and I'll talk about how wonderful of a job you're doing so that your school knows that we are here to support you. Coming to their events, emails to thank them, praise them, or share what you got from that experience. Hosting those network events for gathering and sharing with each other. I know another county that does workday lunches where maybe all of the dance teachers in the county will get together on those work days and spend the day doing PD and learning from each other and updates, but then they go out to lunch together and they share with each other at lunchtime to really say, hey, we are not only here as competing programs, but we're here as friends to support each other and know that we can call each other at any time if we have a question or we are in need of help in some area. And opportunities to observe and learn from other teachers in the school, content area, or district, or even other districts. You know, can your whole district have a week that you can have your classes covered somehow to be able to go and observe other classes and other arts teachers, because there might not be someone at your school that you can observe teaching the same thing as you. So how do we make that accessible to teachers to be able to go observe another teacher who's really, really got it and say they could learn something from going in and watching that teacher at that school or at that district, to be able to take that back and add to their teaching. We all know when we were student teaching and we were observing our lead teachers, right, our teacher mentors, how much we got from just those observations. And that's really important to be able to continue learning in that way and seeing other teachers. One thing we want to share before we have guests is an example of a great celebration that just happened this last week. The symphony mentioned all of these field trips that they've had from all of the different districts coming in to see them. And so Durham Public Schools took this one step further. And they said, okay, we're having this field trip. All of our fourth graders are going to be there. We're going to have a pre-concert reception. We're going to invite all of the important Durham Public School county leaders and state leaders to be there to celebrate our teachers and all they do for arts education in Durham Public Schools. So it was a fantastic reception that was just tagged right on to something they were already doing. And what an opportunity to showcase and highlight and celebrate your teachers and what they do for arts education, and also celebrate your district leaders at the same time. So thinking about those opportunities and out of the box thinking are really wonderful members. Yeah, there was senators, representatives, council members, superintendents, they were all there in attendance and got to share this really exciting experience with these fourth graders, just dancing and cheering to the symphony. It was an experience like nothing else, I have to tell you. So with all of that to be said, we're going to have a moment to share a case study that we wanted to bring into you. Two guests from Broughton High School guests. So we have the principal, Dr. Elena Ashburn, who was the 2021 Wells Fargo, North Carolina Principal of the Year, and Betsy Graves, who was their dance teacher. She was the 2017-18 Wake County Teacher of the Year and 2018-19 Magnet Schools of America Region 4 Teacher of the Year. So we are excited to have both of them here with us today, and they're going to share and talk with you about creating a positive arts ed environment within their school. Right. So I'll turn it over now to Elena and Betsy.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be with you all. Thank you for the opportunity. Before I talk just a little bit about how we have set up supporting arts at Broughton High School, I do want to tell you full disclosure that the most important thing a principal does is to hire great people. And the principal before me hired Betsy Graves. So my job is not terribly difficult to support arts in that capacity. So full disclosure, when you have great people, they make great things happen. So I'm going to speak just less than 5 minutes about the principal's perspective in supporting arts, and then Ms. Graves, our dance director and our fine arts chair, is going to talk about her perspective from a teacher's role. So in terms of thinking about the high school principalship in particular, but I do think that this applies to all levels, the principal really needs to think of fine arts as a core class and not as an optional or elective class. So once you've made that mindset shift that you don't consider arts an elective or an option, then everything else falls into place there. So what do I mean by that? First, when I think about staffing, the fact that I've used fine arts as a core and not as an elective, you are making a concerted commitment and effort to ensuring that your staffing is committed to your arts positions. So even when you might get to a point where your numbers for registration are low in fine arts, because you've committed to staffing the positions at full time, you keep those positions there so that the staff can work to rebuild the programs. Okay, so we know that that's a real concern right now, especially post-pandemic with numbers in classes, right? So make the commitment to keep the position. Now, I'm a principal and I'm very aware that you can't have low numbers forever. So what you do is you communicate to the arts teacher and the department and you support them and say, how is it that we can get our registration numbers back up? And when is it that we agree, by when will we have our numbers back up such that I can continue to staff this at full time? So staffing, I think, is the number one piece. Make a commitment to staffing it as a core class, not as an elective. Second, I think the same about instructional supply dollars. So as budget manager in your building, you need to allocate appropriate instructional supply dollars to your fine arts department. Otherwise, they cannot do their job. So again, viewing it as a core and not an option, you're going to allocate generally more funds to your art department for consumables and also for substitutes, right? Because your arts teacher, part of their discipline and their curriculum and expectations for students is that you want them to go out into the community, participate in events, et cetera, and you should cover their subs. That obviously means that you're going to have to make decisions to allocate funds differently in your building. And that's just a commitment you should make if you're going to support your fine arts department. The third thing I want to mention from a principal's perspective is visibility. So do you attend arts events in the same way that you might attend sporting events in your building? And the answer should be yes. Now, I have 2,200 students, 200 staff, and all those kids' moms and dads, right? So we're busy people, and principals can't be everything to everybody all the time, right? So you can't go to every single arts event, and that's fine. But you should be strategic in making sure that you do go to arts events, at least one show per discipline. And then also what I say is you need to leverage your administrators or the people on your team who act as administrators. So for me, I've communicated to my administrators that it is my expectation that on what we allocate as their duty night, right? The night that they stay late for items, is that if there's an arts event, that is included, just like you would show up for a basketball game. If there's a band concert, you go to the band concert and you're the admin on duty and you're representing the admin team as a whole, the visibility. And then the last thing that I want to mention from a principal's perspective is accountability, right? So I expect the arts to produce high quality work, right? So if there's all this support for the arts, you should expect your arts teachers, you should support them in a way, but also expect that they and their students are producing high quality work that is going to reflect well on your school. So just as you would for a regular classroom teacher, right? If you're going to expect your math teacher to produce high quality work and have their students promoted to the next grade level, make sure that you set those expectations with your fine arts teacher, because they are also a core and that they're actually meeting the marks that you set. So again, from principal's perspective, staffing, instructional supply dollars, visibility, and accountability. All right, I'm going to kick it over to Ms. Graves.
Thank you. So hi, I'm Ms. Graves, and as I'm going to start off with what she started off with, but on the flip side, if you have leadership that supports you, it makes it a lot easier to have a positive experience. So for me, it was interesting when they reached out to us to ask to do this, because I was like, yes, that's just what happens, but I understand that that might not be the case everywhere. And so hopefully through just our little bit of talk, you can see some ways that we've made it work there. I do apologize for my voice. And if it starts to go, then Dr. Ashburn has my notes and she might have to speak for me. So I have 4 areas as well, 2 of which overlap with the principal perspective, but I kind of went about it as, for me as a teacher, my perspective of what I can do to create the program that I feel like you would want to support in leadership. So hopefully through what I do, then in the return, leadership sees the value in it. And then you can take this back to your teachers of like, have you thought about doing this if there's someone struggling? So first is visibility. I think we first talk about teachers, and are you as a teacher making your voice heard and also doing your part as an educator to make your program visible within the school and the larger community, while also being involved in areas outside of the arts. I think it's extremely important that arts teachers understand that while we are a singleton department, we are not single within the school, and it's important that we are a part of things larger than just us, because if we want people to support us, then we also need to be supporting in an authentic way to the other classes and programs at the school. So visibility within the school, visibility within the community, and also making it clear that our voices are important within our programs. So if in the leadership aspect, I think encouraging your teachers to find that visibility within the school and supporting outside of their programs. I feel very strongly, as Dr. Ashburn does in this, and that I believe in creating authentic and high caliber work. And I think that if you're creating that work and you have a high expectation for both yourself and your students and your program, then the work speaks for itself. But that is the most important thing to me. I think that you can't support an arts program if it's not doing excellent work and challenging students to take it to the next level. So in leadership aspects, a lot of you are above a lot of arts. I think you need to be looking at the work that's being created to be challenging your arts educators, to bringing resources and opportunities for students to excel, and making sure that you're holding programs accountable, and not just in terms of the work they put out, but the respect that they show, the integrity and the professionalism that they are presenting within their work. So in the arts, the product is what everyone sees. The process is what we all care about the most in the arts, because it's a journey. But as an administrator or the head of programs and things like that, going to those programs, like Dr. Ashburn spoke about, is where you're going to see the work that's being presented, and then are the eyes. And I think it's important that first you celebrate, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but also if you see somewhere that is lacking, that you reach out to them and see how first you could support them, whether that's finding another arts teacher in the building that can mentor them, or within the program, like programming within the county as well. But you find those things so then you can help them to create caliber work that then will keep their jobs and continue their jobs to be even more visible and successful. As an educator, especially in the arts, arts is continually changing, and that is something that might be a little bit different than the other core classes that you all are leading or you're a part of. So whether you're a principal or in other arts changes a little bit more than history and math. So history continues to evolve, but history was history. So you're going to continue to learn that. In the arts, it constantly changes throughout what's going on in society now and what is still relevant and what has changed. And I think it's extremely important as an educator for myself that I'm expanding my knowledge and constantly growing. So that's where it comes in the professional development. As a leader, I would encourage you to find ways for your arts teachers to participate in authentic professional development. Many times professional development doesn't always completely align with what we're doing in our classroom. So I would encourage you to speak to your arts educators about what professional development they have found that they could use to make their programs more successful and more authentic in what they're doing. And then encourage them to do so. So we are very fortunate in our school that there are grants for professional development for us to be able to go off and do things that have to do with our curriculum. But in addition, all of our substitutes are always paid for when we have conferences or field trips, and those type of things alleviate stress and alleviate a barrier that could be there for many arts teachers to not be able to expand their knowledge and what's going on. And I will be completely frank, when arts teachers stop doing their art, that's when the art of the program is going to become stagnant, and then you're going to see a lot of turmoil or lack of interest. So if they can continue with their own art, then I believe that they will make better art in their classroom. And then I will say that the way that I feel at Broughton, that just maybe not everyone experiences, but I experience, is the celebration aspect. So having administrators and leaders and colleagues support and find that what I'm doing is valid, not just a class, as she said, their programs and their core programs. For many of the art students, it is the reason that they're coming to school. And so when you have administration and leadership that's there, that is speaking to the students and saying, oh my gosh, are you excited for your show? What are you doing this year? What song are you doing? My students are always like, oh my gosh, Dr. Ashburn stopped me in the hall and asked me about my dance, and that means more a lot of times than even me talking to them about their dance, right? Of course, I'm going to love it. It's what I do. And even my other arts teachers, but when administration that maybe wasn't in the arts, but they show that what they're doing is valid and that it means something, that has such a weight to it. Because a lot of times as a teacher in the arts, while it is a singleton, that can feel overwhelming and many times isolating, because while you have a department, we're all teaching our own subject. So you don't have always colleagues that understand completely what you're doing. So having people that at least celebrate in what you're doing and find value in what you're doing will allow you to feel that positive experience, that what is happening in your classroom matters to the entirety of the school, not just within, as I call it, my studio 2207, but it matters to the entire Needham B. Broughton High School. And that, I think, is what matters the most, is that we feel supported beyond just having numbers in our room or having good grades and things like that. So for the teacher perspective, I would say for you, helped teachers to find visibility, accountability, relevance, and celebration within the classroom and beyond.
Great, thank you.
I think we're going to move into, we really wanted to provide opportunity for you to ask questions, because there's a lot of information that we probably didn't touch on, because we would prefer just to answer any questions that you have about what we are doing here or things that we've done that maybe you've seen. So any questions, we're happy to answer.
Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat, or if you desperately want to unmute, you're welcome to do that while you're writing anything out that you are curious about for them. We'll take a look at our answer garden again and some more of those words that have popped in.
Yeah, I do want to say I saw Laura Strotman, hi, her statement, and that's very true. I'm extremely fortunate at my school that the API and the Dean of Students meets with us and ensures that we do get the right people in the right classes. So it doesn't feel like a struggle at my school. It feels like we're a priority, because they understand that because we're all singleton classes, and because the way that we always talk about it, football, you can't have offensive line without a center, just like you can't have a band without a trumpet section. So we always talk about that we have to have the right people in the right class in order for us to be successful. So at my school, I'm extremely fortunate with the leadership when it comes to scheduling, and so they really schedule us first. So we're and so then we can make sure we have the right people in the right classes. But I think you need to be very vocal about that if you're having a hard time in that way.
Great, thank you. Any other questions?
I just want to do a shout out.
Yeah.
I want to tell Dr. Ashburn we completely appreciated having Betsy Graves as our guest choreographer for our all county dance this year. She is amazing. So hold on to her.
She is amazing. You're exactly right.
Wonderful. Well, we just want to also share before we move forward that a lot of this came from you all asking us questions about how do we retain teachers? How do we recruit teachers? How do we keep the good ones and make sure that they're happy in their positions? And we felt like these two were really the two of the best people to be able to share because of what their program at their school has really turned into. So thank you so much, Dr. Ashburn and Ms. Graves, for being here with us today. We appreciate you, and we love everything that you're doing. So thank you again.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah. All right, so we will move forward quickly to the North Carolina Arts Council to be able to give us some updates.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to be very considerate of everyone's time. I know we're approaching near the end here. So all that to be said, please don't hesitate to follow up with me afterwards, after today's meeting. I'm always happy to connect one-on-one to discuss grants and funding opportunities for arts experiences and artist residencies in schools in North Carolina. So I hope we can continue the conversation. But briefly, I always like to just introduce who we are in case there's anyone new to working with the North Carolina Arts Council. We are an agency within the Department of Cultural Resources, and our mission is the arts for all people. And we achieve this through our statewide programs and grant initiatives, and we really ensure that all 100 counties receive funding for the arts. So I specifically work with grants, and I'm gonna, I've listed here our grant opportunities for schools and school districts. So we have our artist residency grant, which provides funding to bring practicing artists into the classroom. And that can be visual artists, musicians, choreographers, media, digital designers, you name it. As long as it is standards-based, the funding can all go towards supporting paying the artists and any related materials costs. The grants do require a match, but there is some flexibility when thinking about that, such as teachers' time when planning the residency with the artist, any maybe classroom supplies that you're using towards the project, etc. But that's my role, is I'm here to help make the application process accessible. I don't make the funding decisions, so I'm always happy to kind of brainstorm about a budget and cash match for a grant. I just want to also mention that if you are a school or school district located in a Tier 1 county, you are not required to provide a match. So just, again, that is something to be aware of, and our grants typically range from $5,000 to $15,000. Additionally, we have the Cartwheels grant, which has been paused during the pandemic, but I'm really excited to bring it back. I'm right now in the process of recruiting artists for our new teaching artist roster, and the focus will be on integrating resiliency in the arts. So for the Cartwheels program, this is more of a school-wide program that can also include teacher professional development and more in-depth workshops with specific students as well. So stay tuned. We'll be announcing more details about the Cartwheels grant and our new teaching artists on the roster this fall. And then we also, of course, work closely with the National Endowment for the Arts and the Poetry Foundation to support poetry out loud in the state. And we collaborate with our partners at Triad Stage. And again, this is a program we work really hard to ensure that spoken word poets, poets from all regions of the state are included in some of the planning and activities associated with this program. So I know that was a quick 101 of grants, but please don't hesitate to reach out. On the next slide, I have my contact details. You can find us if you just Google North Carolina Arts Council. And again, I'm more than happy to serve as a resource if you're ever trying to connect with artists to bring into your classroom. So we work very closely with artists all over the state and arts nonprofits. So thank you all so much for your time, and I look forward to staying in communication.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. Thanks for being here. We're going to turn it over to A+ Schools now with Michelle and Tom.
Hey everybody, I'm Michelle Burrows, Director of A+ Schools, and Tom Nevels, our Professional Development Manager, has been hanging out with us today too. I'm looking at the clock and I'm seeing that we're about 1 minute away from your end time. All of our links are in the slide deck. Let me just say that we are currently recruiting A+ Schools. Our letter of intent deadline is on June 15th. I'm going to just put the link to our Becoming an A+ Schools page in the chat for you. But there's also a slide with all of our contact info. Right now, we've got 67 A+ schools across the state in 37 counties, and there are just under 200 schools across the nation and internationally. You know, A+ is a statewide network here in North Carolina, also in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Cape Town, South Africa. So we've got a growing international network of schools that started right here in North Carolina. As you likely know, A+ is a whole school transformation model centered around the value of the arts and education. So I see a lot of people on here that have A+ schools, one or more in their districts. Always happy to connect with you all to see how to strengthen those schools. The pandemic has been challenging for many. Some of our schools have gone back to basics and away from the arts, so we're working with them to help them figure out how to stay connected and re-engage with A+ and with the arts. I also just wanted to let you know that we just finished an apprentice fellows recruitment process. We do that every other year, where we bring new fellows into our our consultants and trainers who are arts educators and teachers and teaching artists and administrators from our schools in North Carolina. We have 7 new fellows, including Medina Demeter, who's the co-chair of the NC Thespians. She's a new fellow this year. And Victoria Lightfoot, who was just the winner of one of the Milken Awards this week. So great group of trainers that work with us. So we'll keep you informed when the next Apprentice Fellows process opens. Other than that, we're here for you. If we can help you in thinking about arts integration and connecting the arts for schools in your district as an A+ school or as professional development, let us know. And the next slide has our contact information. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And if you need to go, we will be putting the survey in the chat, but Michelle is also going to lead us in a quick optimistic closure if you are able to stay on for that. We hope that you do. And again, we will stay on until 1 if you'd like to just stay and chat and share some great things with us.
Great, thanks, Hayward. We'll just do a quick closure here. I wanted to have you draw a square, a circle, and a triangle on your paper, kind of in a column, one on top of another. And then we're going to put a little reflection note in each of those. And I just put the instructions into the chat for you. But in the square, either in the square or beside the square, list something that was new to you today or news to you from the content today. In the circle, list a connection that you made, maybe to another group or to some of the content. And in the triangle, list a possible follow-up or change or next step for yourself. And feel free to share any of those in the chat if you'd like to do that. There was a lot of content today and a lot of great information, a lot of connections made. So I hope that you got some new news, made some connections, and have a next step for yourself. All right, Sayward, I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michelle. That was really great. I love this, and I love seeing all of the things coming in. We're not going to take the time to read those now, but you can definitely read over there. There's some awesome reflections. So again, Brandon has placed the survey in the chat for you to fill out your end of webinar survey. And remember, we really take this information to plan our next steps moving forward based on what you need and what you ask for. So your feedback is essential for us to plan and figure out where we're going to go next year. So make sure that you take time to do that. And again, we will stay on to answer any questions or chat or just hang out for a bit if you'd like to with us. But we want to send a sincere thank you to all of our guest speakers for today. We could not have put this on without you. We thank you for everything that you're doing in your organizations, and most of all to you, district arts education leaders, for everything that you do to support arts education in your districts and in your roles. So thank you again for joining us, and hopefully you'll stay on. If not, we'll see you at the next time.
I'll just make a note here for people watching the recording that we do still love when people fill out the survey link. That is how you get your CEUs, even for the recording. And we certainly want everyone's input, even beyond the 28 people who were sharing with us today live. So thank you so much for being here.